Hello and welcome to the show. I'm here at the top of Mount Chiliad for some more downhill chaos. My first vehicle today is the Shelby Mustang. Haven't actually had too many muscle cars go down Mount Chiliad, and these can often hold their own on GTA 5, so I was hoping for some decent things from the Mustang. The hikers were being a pain and standing right in the way, so they were going to be splattered immediately. First thing I did notice, little bit of a wiggly tail end coming around that first corner. Did though manage to get the car all under control at this early stage. We bounce it across the next jump, and even running across the inside there. The Shelby was never really looked like a car that was particularly going to roll over. Get very lucky with a little bit of a clip on one of the rocks as we blast past. Unfortunately, turned in a little bit too soon. My mistake with it at the hairpin there. Yeah, turned it in a little too soon, trying to get as much speed through the hairpin as I could. Got the front end caught on the on the kind of a cliff, and that was some trouble. Hiker got caught up in the front wheel, which is less than ideal, as I proceeded to kind of get a little bit throw it around. I just kind of threw off line. Initially ended up in a bush, then got tipped into it got clipped the back end on some rocks, and then we kind of bounced our way off down the mountain. Lost a front bumper, but no massive damage on the Mustang that time out. We've seen a couple of cars. Don't see very many, but certainly with some mods in the PC, we've seen a couple of cars actually roll off the ramp. If you get it a little bit wrong down there, I love how the hiker has just witnessed a rolling Shelby go past and doesn't care. If you go off that ramp a little awkwardly, you can actually get the cars to roll if you've done a little bit of a stupid, and the Mustang ended up upside down. Another pushing my luck a little bit too much across the jump, was trying to keep it out of the bushes and kept it a little too far out of the bushes and promptly slid off of the mountain. Now, we saw on one of the early attempts a hiker got snared up in the wheels. This time around, a coyote never had a vehicle. All of the mods that I've played with this game never had anything have the issues of the kind of the animals and the bodies and so on getting snared up in the wheels. That one carted the Mustang off the course. Little bit unfortunate on that front as we come down towards the end of the run this time around. Things all went a little bit wrong. Car on its side managed to kind of somehow survive all of it despite being chucked around massively. The Shelby didn't actually have any huge crashes up until this point. Little too late on the brakes. We got on two wheels, and that kind of lost control coming down this section. It kind of ramped off the rock face there for a big tumble with the Mustang. Yeah, survived very well. Only had one huge shunt. The rest of them relatively minor from this vehicle. Pretty solid vehicle in many respects. Even on this completed run, it was a big moment over that first jump. You don't often get away with jumping across the rock as I did there with the Mustang, but it could get away. It bounced a little bit on its side as well. It survived all of it, and again you see me running that relatively tight inside line through the corner. Many a car has fallen foul, rolled over at that part, but the Mustang had no issues this time, remembering where to turn in for the hairpin, and got things pretty much spot on with the Shelby. These muscle cars, it's not got the straight line speed, the acceleration that we've had of the supercars, so not quite expecting to get the same speed in between the corners. It does do pretty well. Brakes pretty solid on the car as well. Nothing to get tangled up in the wheels this time around. Little bit concerned of this jump, but no problems at all. And actually has some pretty smooth landings as well. We've seen a few cars bouncing up, having issues on that landing there as well, but no problems whatsoever for the Shelby. And again, across the high-speed jump, maybe a tiniest little bit of a bounce up, but still no issues for the car. This time getting it slowed down and under control. I managed to smash up the rear taillights at some point down this corner, probably in that opening shenanigans, and around the final corner we go with the Shelby. Back end a little bit on the lively side, but certainly nothing that I couldn't deal with, and the Mustang made it down the course. A fairly scary kind of first corner area, a little bit of scraping along on its side, but the Mustang made it down the mountain pretty damn convincingly. Actually dealt with the course very, very well, and didn't really have any major offs. It was sort of the odd little mistake here and there that cost it. Yeah, no real problems with dealing with the demands of Mount Chiliad. Up next, we go to a Porsche, the 911 GT1 car. Now, I did have to put the engine power multiplier on this one because from standard this thing had very, very little in the way of power, which is not befitting of a 911 GT1. So I ramped up the power to a feasible level for the car. The bigger issue for this one, well, it is, after all, let's face it, a racing car, not exactly designed for dealing with the demands of an off-road course. Quite a long car, quite a wide car as well. We saw the McLaren F1 Longtail have some issues with the kind of, it's just so long, it kind of got caught up on the floor a little bit. I feared that would be problems with this car. It was a little bit. The bigger issue was its fondness for rolling over. That I didn't have a problem with on the opening run. Got caught out with a little bit of oversteer and a little bit of the bumps. And sure enough, the Porsche has more than enough power. If you start upsetting it across there, you're going to put it around in a circle. As I said, the big issue had to worry about was the car rolling over. Now, we often see this from sort of the higher cars, the SUVs and so on, but equally you see it from the cars with an awful lot of grip, and the Porsche has got a lot of grip, and it's basically a grip roll that we have going on. The Voltic will do it as well quite easily down this course, so got to be aware of that in the Porsche. I got things out a little bit too wide, got it all out of shape, getting on two wheels in a weird place, and then kind of just bumping it across some scenery to getting it stuck on a rock. Again, not the most spectacular of crashes from the Porsche, but yeah, just kind of got it stuck up there. Again, landing of this jump took a little bit too much on the inside, put the car up onto two wheels. Wasn't enough to roll the car over. It was just enough to spin it around. I tried to kind of quickly save it, but in the end kind of pointed it at a rock face. Couldn't quite gather it all up. Carrying too much speed and a little bit too wide. Launches the car down this side section. Quite an impressive flip. Don't see it very often. Cars quite get launched that much. The front sort of digging in as it got twisted its way down the mountain. Yeah, there was some spectacular crashes for the Porsche. Very, very quick when you could unleash all of the speed in the car. Brakes were very, very good as well. It got it stopped from the higher speeds and so on. It was the slight difficulties with the handling. Had to be aware of its likelihood to roll over through the faster turns here, so taking a little bit of a wider line and just generally being a little bit more cautious through some of these corners. And I was quite aware as well of the size of the car to make sure you get it turned, especially through the likes of this hairpin. It is a pretty hefty vehicle. Actually ended up running a tad wide this time. I say hefty vehicle, a large vehicle. It doesn't weigh particularly much. We're a big two-wheeled moment through that high-speed section that I wasn't quite expecting. Again, getaway. There's a pretty big let-off as well through there. That could have ended quite badly. Car did get bounced onto its side, but managed to keep it under control. Now we've just got the fearsome jumps to be worrying about for the Porsche. Does get the landing quite neatly for the first one. Still, though, we're on two wheels. All of these faster turns, the Porsche has a tendency to wants to go up to its side quickly on the brakes after that high-speed jump, and now launching it down the side road, making sure not to have a fight with the bushes. The bushes are horrible for tipping the car off course. It's a big two-wheeled moment around the second to last corner. It does, though, deal with the nasty bumps around there. No problem. Again on two wheels around the final turn, and a flight across the line for the Porsche. Yeah, quite a scary one with its fondness for going up on two wheels. An awful lot of grip. Very nearly managed to back it off. The kind of the little trail that we have here, not quite ideal. It recovered though. It could be plenty of wheel spin, but on the whole, plenty of grip to deal with the power that I gave it. Yeah, a solid vehicle. Our final car, this one, as soon as I saw this, I knew I had to have a go with it. It's called the Mefist, I believe. It's a classic Grand Prix car, really. Yeah, it's a bizarre thing. It's got 7 exhausts, I think, 4 out one side. There's one that goes all the way to the back along the side of it. There's 2 that come out at the back of the car. It's absolutely crazy, basically. Really do quite like it though. Pretty huge amounts of speed in this car as well. Acceleration is very good. Top speed is impressive. Suspension actually does better at dealing with this course than you might perhaps expect. I was expecting this to be absolutely awful, but it actually does a pretty good job at getting around here. Maybe not when you end up driving it straight at a rock. That kind of, ruined things a little bit. I tried to get on the power too soon. We didn't quite have the grip in the car, and got itself into a little bit of trouble. This jump again causing some problems. Thought it was going to roll over. It had enough grip I could just about recover it, but we were going to go for a spin anyway. Again with the slight twistings on the takeoff down there. The one flaw of the car was its brakes. It really didn't get stopped particularly well, as it's probably managed to lose an eye, and that's often one of the big places for the brakes on the cars. Just running a little tad wide, getting caught up on the rock faces often will see the car in a bit of trouble. It did also not have the hugest amount of rear end grip. If things got a little bit away from it, very hard to recover in this car, not helped by the awful lot of speed and power. This run, things kind of still got a little bit scrappy into these final corners, as bouncing the car across the bumps and in the trees, and ended up clipping some bushes. Haven't hit those bushes before particularly. It was enough though to you can see the car get tipped to the side as soon as it goes through them, and that's enough to pull it off the course regardless. Next time around, down the side, but again the bushes snagging the car. Managed to control that, but not on the next one. It again gets tipped around. The bushes are lethal for this vehicle. Not particularly spectacular crashes, but they are a real pain in the arse. Again, outbraked myself into that section, just running up the cliff. The way it's shaped is fantastically easy to launch cars about all over the place. It recovers pointing back in the right direction, but yeah, that was that run ruined. I really like this car. I think it's a really cool vehicle to have in GTA 5. It's pretty damn good fun to drive. The brakes make it a little tricky down this kind of a course. It's such a twisty course. I mean, to get up to about the fastest cars we've seen really get 80, maybe we've seen 90. Pretty sure we haven't had anything crack 100 miles an hour on this course, because it is such a demanding circuit, and with some fairly hefty braking zones, this car's just lack of stopping power lets it down a little bit. But aside from that, yeah, a great fun vehicle to drive. Suspension does do a remarkably good job of dealing with the demands of this terrain, even with me pushing it a little bit too much and running a tad wide. It has a fairly good change of direction as well, this car. You've just always got to be aware that you've got to brake quite early to make sure that you can actually kind of get it through these turns. As we now come to the jumps again, a lovely nice landing across that first of the heavy jumps, and now to the high speed section. Me being a little bit cautious because I've now got to try and get it down this road over here, and I know I can't afford to be getting near the bushes because they cause no end of problems for the classic Grand Prix car. Managed to jump through that one there fine on this final run. Gets kicked a little bit sideways around the second to last corner, and again down there with those nasty small bumps. We have seen them catch out a few cars as it flies across the line, kind of bounces off the terrain and ends up in one of the trees, and this time it's managed to lose both of its eyes at the front there. Yeah, an interesting one to drive. Great fun to go down chiliad, because the suspension works really well for dealing with almost all of the bumps. That second to last corner caused some issues coming out of it with kind of the bumpy oversteer wasn't fantastic, and the brakes were kind of a little bit difficult to work with, but a great car. On to the times, and the Shelby and Porsche are remarkably close, and it is into an incredibly crowded area of the table that they go. The Shelby, 127.6, the Porsche, 27.7, 34th and 35th respectively. They are pretty damn good times from the cars. I mean, you know, it's in kind of the fast road car section, fractions down on the Felon All Track, the Penumbra, the Dubster, the Blackfin, and so on, quicker than the Buller, the Vauxhall Insignia, Maserati Gran Turismo. That's respectable times from the car, considering the Porsches want to roll over, and the Shelby perhaps not quite having as much acceleration as some cars. They did relatively well. The Mefist is down in 55th 5th place with 130.1. The brakes letting it down, and perhaps some of the bumping as well around that second to last corner certainly wouldn't have helped with the time. Feels very quick to drive, great acceleration, but yeah, trying to get it stopped. Again, it's another very, very crowded part of the table. Fractions down on the Virgo, the Sand King, the Izzy. It is a little bit quicker than the Uranus, the Sterling, and the M3 Touring. I really like it. It's probably one of my new favorite mods cars for GT5. A great vehicle. Little bit tricky getting it down chiliad, but it is a rather demanding course. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. I'll put a link to all of the mods that I have used in the description, so you can download them, have a go with them yourself. But that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.